What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to the channel and welcome to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video / Dragonstride Legacy Reborn. For whoever is not familiar, is the exactly same game. Now, in today's video, guys, I want to talk about skill timing, how to play the game like a pro, how to use the skill timing in different content. We're going to talk about skill haste. We're going to talk about artifacts that will boost the speed on your characters. I'm going to try to compress all of that information in one video because it's very, very interconnected. Now, if you enjoy the content, do me a favor, guys. Smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. Help with that YouTube algorithm. Come and join my Discord. The link is in the description down below or in the pinned comment. We'll be hosting giveaways in there. We have tons and tons of people that are helping around with pretty much everything related to the game. And of course, I'm in there every single day. And another thing, just to kind of like make it to make the normal routine, if you guys want to put your hand on more free rewards, if you want to help and support the channel, this will enable me to do tons and tons of giveaway for you guys. Heliolite dice, gems, all the goodies. Make sure you guys go over to the announcement, bind your invitation code. It will bring you to this website. Use code Skratch, plus you're going to be able to claim some rewards straight away. If this doesn't work, click on the link in the description or pin comment, because that will take you to this website, but not from in-game. And for whatever reason, it tends to make a bit of a difference. But what about skill timing, guys? So a couple of things that you need to know. Each one of these bosses will have a specific cycle that will allow them to rotate their skills either in 18-second cycle, either in 20-second cycle for the temporal vortex, either in 24th cycle for the heretical ruins. If we're taking, for example, the Grave of Venom, so this will be on an 18 seconds cycle, okay, which means that the boss will have its skills and is going to use those skills at an interval of 6 seconds. So we have the first skill, complete recharge, as you guys can see, 6 seconds. So in the very first 6 seconds, the boss is going to use this. But there is a catch. Some of these skills are actually delayed in game, in terms of like they're not going to use their skill spot on at the 6 seconds mark. Sometimes it's going to go to 7 seconds. For some bosses, it's different, but that's something that you kind of like need to pay attention to. And I'm quickly going to show you how easily you can do that as well. So we have 6 seconds, the boss is going to use this skill. At 12 seconds, the boss is going to use this skill. So you add 6 plus 6, right, equals 12. But these are the very first two skills. Then the final skill on the boss, which is the ultimate, will be used as well at a 6 seconds gap from the other at 18 seconds, okay? So that's when the boss is using the final skill, which means that this boss rotates on an 18 second cycle. Some of your characters, on the other hand, will have their skills on 20 seconds or will have them on 18 seconds or something like that. Now, you can actually bypass that by bringing skill haste or different artifacts onto your characters. But we're going to talk more about that towards the end of the video. First, I want to talk a bit about skill timing, okay? You see, everybody has different. Now, the initial charge time means that when you start the fight, your character is going to use this skill at exactly 10.9 seconds. Then, moving onwards from there, this skill will repeat every 19.9 seconds. You can speed that up with skill haste, okay? So that's the difference in between initial and complete recharge. Complete recharge, it means how long it takes the character to cycle to this skill. Because it has the battle skill, which is completely different, is usually half of the ultimate skill. You see initial 5 seconds, complete recharge 10 seconds. So that being said, that's how cycles work. On bosses, on characters, on pretty much every other thing in the game. If we're going to take, for example, a different boss that has a completely different cycle, which is the temporal vortex, you're going to notice that this one is in fact on a 20 seconds cycle. So let's go to challenge. And I'm going to go into the run with this one. So I'm going to load the gear. I'm going to go into the run because I want to show you something, okay? So I'm going to put it on 1x speed. You see, this boss has 1, 2, 3, and 4 skills. Now, this will recharge at an interval of 5 seconds, okay, which equals a 20 seconds cycle for the boss. Now, the reason why this boss has a 20-second cycle is because most of the characters in the game will have a 20 seconds cycle. Most of them. Some of them got changed from the previous version and they move a bit faster, right? The whole idea is that some of these skills are delayed, you see? He's supposed to use that skill at the mark of 20 seconds, but instead, he used it at around 22 seconds or something like that. This skill right here was meant to be used exactly at a mark of 10 seconds, but instead, he's using it a little bit later, which allows us to actually bypass some of these skills. And if we are timing our characters right, that means that we're going to be able to basically cover our characters with buffs or debuffs on the boss for multiple skills, right? So I'm running an unkillable team right here with Ogok. Now, Ogok will actually place the immortality totem for 8 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. Or I might be mixing it up with him and Zephy, or maybe it's 5 seconds. I can't remember exactly, but we're going to check that in a second. So basically, I'm using him at the right moment. I'm quickly going to wait for it to happen so I can actually show you what it means, that right moment. You see, we are covered right there with unkillable for this skill too. But the main thing is that when the boss is looking to basically use this single target skill, right, which should be happening right about now, my Ogok instantly puts unkillable right before that, okay? And because of it, I actually just stopped him. I've just realized that I stopped him, which was a stupid move. I haven't noticed that I clicked on it. But at that right moment, he puts unkillable right before the hit actually deals the damage. So like that, I'm covered with unkillable for this skill and for this second skill as well. So for the second and the third skill, I'm covered with unkillable. Now, in order to do that, basically you will need skill timing, okay? And I'm quickly going to show you how that works. So on my Ogok, I have exactly 30 seconds, 0.5 or 0.499. For whatever reason, it gives it to you like that. So that means that in the first cycle, I'm not going to use Ogok's ultimate skill because I need to wait to make sure I will have it available for the next time when we start the run, when the cycle repeats. So the 20 seconds go, we're not using the skill, we still have it charged. 10 more seconds come, we're getting to the second skill from the boss's rotation, and we are getting ready to use the immortality skill. And this will give us immortality for 5 seconds. Yeah, Zephy has it for 8. So, because we have that for 5 seconds in there, and it literally drops right before the boss uses the skill, you see it's a 0.5 second delay on when the boss actually deals the damage. Like this, we're going to manage to cover ourselves for this skill and for the next skill when the boss deals damage. Then, that's basically something that you do need to pay a bit of attention. I will have videos for most of the teams that I'm running with skill timing and all that, but I am not able to make a guide and showcase you every skill timing possible in the game for all of the 190 characters that we have, because that's literally impossible. Now, moving on to your skill timing for the rest of the characters. For example, why do I have 12, 13.5, 12, and 13.5 on the others? And why do I have the recast on 20 seconds? So let's start with the recast first. We have the first cast at 30.49 seconds, 30.5. The recast will happen on a 20-second cycle. Why is it 20 seconds? Because the boss's cycle is 20 seconds. So in order to ensure that we are always using this skill at the exact same moment in every single fight, is by putting it on the same recast time, on the same cycle like the boss's cycle, which is 20 seconds for the temporal vortex. And that goes the same for the rest of the characters too. Now, for the damage dealers, it's really not important to have the 20 seconds recast unless not all of them can keep up the step with it. So, for example, in my team, we have Sura that applies defense down with a Witch's Remains artifact or Crown of the Unclean. In order to make sure that I'm boosting my damage, I need to make sure that Sura goes first, applies the defense down, and the other characters will go straight after that defense down is applied. And I want to make sure that recast time keeps the same cycle. So I always have the defense down through the entire duration of the fight for the entire 8 minutes before my damage dealers get to do their skills, so I have the best damage output possible. Then I have him going at 13.5 seconds. I have her going at 13.5 seconds because in 1.5 seconds, that defense down should be guaranteed landed on the boss. And then I basically reduce my chance of failure to apply the defense down and increase my damage output because I'm delaying the skills of the main damage dealers by a little bit to ensure that the defense down lands. Terrible, on the other hand, he's moving a bit slower. He takes a bit of time to basically start his skill, so I can let him go a bit earlier than the rest. But that's how skill timing actually works. That's the whole thing behind it, okay? If we're going to go over to something different. So we're going to go on to the Grave of Curse now, okay? Because that boss is on an 18-second cycle, and I've done my team, at least the support characters, to go on an 18 seconds cycle. And this will bring me into the next thing, which will explain you how you can speed up your characters. So, we have this boss. As you guys can probably notice, we have one skill, which will buff at 6 seconds, but this is delayed as well, and it gets to do it only at around 7 seconds. We have this skill that deals more damage at 12 seconds, 13 seconds. And then we have this skill that deals AoE damage and strips a buff from our team at the 18 seconds mark, but is delayed by a second or so. So this is something, once again, I repeat, you need to keep an eye on, okay? Because each boss has a slightly different delay. I'm really not sure exactly why that is happening. But leaving all that on the side, in order to make sure that my character can keep up the step with the boss, I basically have to give him an artifact and skill haste. So Zephy has this skill that, as you guys can probably notice, initial at 12 seconds, complete recharge at 20 seconds. Now, if I want him to always proc this invincibility, immortality, unkillable at the same mark every single rotation, I need to make sure I speed him up because the boss is on an 18-second cycle. Zephy is on a 20-second cycle, which means that if I keep him like this, the boss will overlap him, and Zephy will not be able to use his skill at the exact same given moment, okay? Now, in order to do that, you have a couple of options in terms of artifacts. So you can use the Rift Hourglass, which gives you skill haste. This will push my speed by quite a bit, but we're gonna get to that part in a second. Or you have a different option, which is actually a legendary artifact. A lot of people are sleeping on it, but it's a very, very powerful one. And that is the Spiritual Incense Burner. This will increase the wearer's ultimate energy by 10% at maximum level after unleashing the ultimate skill. Which means the following. So when I have this at maximum level, if I would use this on Zephy, when I'm using the ultimate skill the very first time, I'm gonna get 10% ultimate energy back. Now, 10% of 20 is basically 2, right? Which means that my skill from a 20-second cycle will drop down to an 18-second cycle. It's just how 10% will work on the ultimate energy boost, right? So I won't require to do anything else but have this basically at maximum level, and like that, I've made any character in the game that has a 20-second cycle instantly drop to an 18-second cycle, which will make your life much easier in a boss fight. Now, that is very, very important because that's how you keep up the step with the boss and you do not get overlapped. Now, for this skill timing, for example, on my Zephy, I have the following. He's going to cast his skill the very first time at 18 seconds, then he's going to recast on 18-second cycle. As simple as that. Then the other ones, as I explained you before, is all about putting the defense down and having the other characters go straight after it to do more damage. And the defense down character in this team is actually terrible. I could potentially actually increase this to 14.5 seconds, something like that, just to make sure that my defense down lands on the boss, right? But that is how you are doing your skill timing. And it depends. It is a damage dealer. It is a support. Which skill creates you issue in a fight? So for example, if I'm going to start a run right here, you're going to see that the first skill means nothing to me. He just self-buffs with a delay. Big deal. I do not care about it. The second skill, big deal again. He's going to deal damage versus my tank. Not a problem. Now, this skill is what makes me issues. It creates me issues because he's nuking my entire team. So I need to protect myself from it. Either I protect myself from it, either I'm going to bring in a different character that will heal straight after the boss is using that skill. Okay? That's basically what you need to keep in mind when you are fighting bosses. Okay, which skill is the biggest threat? Do I heal before the skill? Is that necessarily? Do I heal after the skill? Or I have two characters that heal, and I'm going to heal once before and once after, okay? Not really sure what happened right here, but either way, let's back out because I don't want to stay in to do a full fight. So that whole idea is you have tons of options, okay? I could bring in, for example, a Thorin in here, right? I can set Zephy to protect me from that ultimate skill from the boss, which nukes my entire team down. And straight after it, when I'm on low HP, I could have Thorin or a different healer come in with this skill and time it, for example, to use it at 20 seconds on an 18-second cycle and constantly heal my team back straight after it so I recover my HP. But that is not something that you want to do in this dungeon in particular, right? So as I've mentioned, in every single guide that I'll be doing, you're going to find the skill timings as well. But this is something that is just kind of like explaining you how to use them. For example, the Heretical Ruins is on a 24-second cycle. How do I know that? Well, it's pretty easy. We're going to look at the skills. So if we go on the character, you're going to see that this one does not have only 3 skills. This one actually has 4. Now, they do not appear right here because I need to start the fight. And I do not have gear on, but let me just quickly load on the gear and crack on with the run. So for example, you see we have 1 skill at 6 seconds. Pay attention to the timer. 1 skill at 6 seconds. So that's 12 seconds. Spot on. Another skill at 18 seconds. So at 6 seconds interval. Right? 18 seconds, look at the timer. And the last one is at 24 seconds. You've seen the timer right there. So that's how this thing actually works. Very easy to understand it. Very, very simple to pay attention to the skills. If you're struggling to see when the boss is using the exact same skill, what you can do is look here and then look at the timer. Was at 17, 3.17, which means that, okay, the boss has around 1 second delay on that skill or half a second delay on that skill. So then when you're adjusting your skill timing on your team, you know exactly what you need to modify in order to cover your team for that specific skill. Regardless if we're talking about healing, if we're talking about immunity, if we're talking about cleansing, if we're talking about shielding, if we're talking about immortality, like I've just put it right now before the boss is using the big AoE. I don't want him to nuke me down, right? So that's basically the whole strategy behind skill timing. Now, we're going to move on to artifacts, and we're going to talk a little bit about skill haste, how much skill haste you need to drop, some of the time on the actual skill to basically be able to use it on a faster rotation. We've done this rundown now because why not? Getting extra gear is definitely not bad. We got a couple of them, a crit damage and a defense, which I actually really needed. But going back to the world. Moving on to characters now. So that's skill timing. Actually, one thing that I forgot to show you. So if you go into the growth dungeons, here you're going to have waves, okay? So if we're going to go now this one, let's go, for example, on the Resplendence. Let me just quickly load my team in here. And no, I don't have the team set for this. Okay, I'm not really farming this at the moment. I've just pushed them on the highest stages. I farmed it on day 1, but that's it. If we're going to go versus this one, I know for a fact that I saved the preset for this team yesterday. So I'm going to load it. Right, I have everything up and running. Now, Right here we have wave 1, we have wave 2, and we have wave 3. So what does it mean when you have this separate timing for continuous stages? And you see I have it on Ogok. Now why will I have this on? Basically, I want Ogok to use his skill the first time on every wave at 16 seconds first. If right now we would go into the next wave, let's just imagine that we're about to kill it, and my ultimate energy on Ogok is almost full. As soon as we get to the next wave, he's instantly going to proc the skill because his ultimate energy is full, right? But I do not need that skill to proc so early. So in order to counter that, at skill timing, you need to basically activate separate timing for continuous stages. Stages means waves. So like this, on every single wave, Ogok is only going to use his ultimate skill at a 16 seconds mark. And the recast for every wave will be at an 18 seconds mark. As simple as that. That's what separate timing does. It enables you to control when they're using their ultimate skills on different waves. Now it's only relevant for Goblin and different dungeons, but truth be told, I'm running Goblin on my free-to-play team account with no timings. And you're not going to need timings. Trust me when I'm telling you that. But let's quickly talk about skill haste. Hopefully I haven't lost you there, guys, because there is quite a bit of information to process. But if you play the same thing twice that I'm saying, it's going to start making sense if you're confused. Because it's very simple. It's extremely, extremely, extremely simple. Talking about skill haste and skills. For example, let's just take a character like Gillian. So, her skill will go on a 19.5 second cycle. And you know why? Because I have 20 skill haste. Now, there isn't a specific formula for how the skill haste actually works on your characters. Skill haste equals speed. The more skill haste we have, the faster the characters will use their skills. So, at the moment, I have exactly 20 skill haste on my character. How do I have the skill haste? Is a bonus from the 2-piece set. You see, I'm getting 20% defense, and I'm getting 20 skill haste. Now, this character has a skill that is on a 20 seconds cooldown. You see, 12 and 20. If I'm adding, for example, 20 skill haste on the character, that skill cooldown dropped at 19.5. But the initial did not drop 0.5 seconds. It dropped only 11.7. Because the way this skill haste works, I really forgot the formula. I had it written down 1 year ago, and I cannot find it. And I cannot find nobody that remembers exactly what it is. But I'm going to try to explain you on my dumb way, okay? So, it's basically a percentage of the times value. So, for example, you see, 20 skill haste from 12 only knocks it down by 0.3. 20 skill haste from 20 seconds knocks it down 0.5. So the higher the value, the higher the knocking down time on the character. Because is a percentage formula behind it. It's not like a 20 flat skill haste will give you a flat 0.5 seconds on every single skill, right? It's about the total time that they have and basically a percentage chunk from it. Now, if I'm going to put, for example, 20 more skill haste on my character. Now, I cannot use the exact same set again because instead of giving me a 2-piece set bonus, it will give me a 3-piece bonus. So I need to look for a different set that gives me skill haste, which is the Holy Hunter. So I'm going to go to the Holy Hunter, get a helmet from the Holy Hunter, and right now I'll be adding 20 more skill haste. That knocks it down to 18.6. So it's not just 0.5 anymore. It goes straight to 1.4 seconds knockdown from the skill. Then on the battle skill, it actually goes down to 4.7 initial recharge and 9.3. But if you pay attention, even my initial recharge, which was 11.7 before, now is 11.5. But the complete recharge is 18.6. So that means that if I have a positive rune, so this is going to unlock only at level 80, but both of them can have skill haste as a substat, right? You see this? I have double roll on skill haste, which is 16. Right now, I have 56 skill haste on my character, and that means that my initial complete recharge time is 18.1. Now, when I'm going to be able to add a negative rune to it, whatever that might be, if I get 5 more skill haste on it or something like that, this will go down to an under 18-second cycle rotation, which means that you do not need those artifacts anymore that will give you that extra skill haste from there, okay? You do not need them anymore because you can make your characters move on an 18-second cycle without that specific artifact that gives you the speed. Now, if we are talking about artifacts, they are extremely important, especially in PvP, especially early game like we are right now. And that is mainly because they will drop a lot of recharge time on your character. So, can we freaking unequip this from here? Not quick equip. Remove them all. Remove them all. There we go. So, if I'm going to use, for example, the Spiritual Incense Burner, this will not appear in here, okay? You're not going to see it in here. It will not appear. But you know that a 10% ultimate energy on your skill equals exactly 10% of the 20 seconds, which is 2 seconds. So you minus 2 seconds out of the 20 seconds, which means that you're going to get exactly 18-second cycle on your character. Now, one that is more unclear, because it's not displayed, unfortunately, in-game, is the Rift Hourglass. Now, this, at maximum level, will give you 100 skill haste, okay? But if I'm equipping it, you are not able to see by how much is your skill timing being decreased, okay? So, that is something that I have been telling them since the very first month of playing the game. This needs to be displayed as well to allow us to understand what is happening. But we do not have that in game. And we can only approximate a bit. Now, my brain right now is not big enough to make the math for the skill haste formula, but I'm going to try to get somebody else that might be a bit better at math than me to try and get it organized for us so we can actually calculate it spot on, because there is definitely a formula behind it. And like that, we can approximate what 100 skill haste does for a 20 seconds cooldown, because you've seen 20 skill haste knock down 0.5, 40 skill haste knock down 1.5 or something like that. So it's not like it's a flat value. That's why the 100 skill haste is a bit hard to anticipate what it will do. It will knock down like what? 4 seconds out of your skill timing or something like that, you know? But that is pretty much how this works, guys, okay? Hopefully it made sense. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, smash that like, subscribe to the channel, because I'll be dropping tons and tons and tons of guides on Dragonheir Silent Gods, because I'm having a freaking blast. And straight after you're going to see this video, I will be doing a live stream from my main account and my free-to-play account, and we are going to go over the Fey Mender. I've heard your pain in the comments. You're struggling on all type of different stages. On my main account, I'm on this stage. So you're going to find that live stream on the channel forever. You're going to be able to see exactly what I'm using. And if you don't have those characters, you're going to get to understand what's the strategy behind it, positioning, gear sets, and how we are defeating every single stage. And on the free-to-play account, I've been slacking, so I'm actually at around stage 60 or something. So I have a lot of climbing to do. So if you're somewhere stuck down here, well, we're going to climb all the way to the highest possible level from the free-to-play account as well. But that's going to be on the live stream section, okay? You're going to see on the thumbnail, Fey Mender. Now, if you guys want to put your hand on more free rewards, make sure you guys are using code Skratch on this website. And that was all for this one, guys. Appreciate all of you guys watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.